Peace, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Luna. If you don't know me, if you're new to my channel, I hope you can see me because it's very sunny where I'm at. I might need to move because I can't see myself. So I really hope you can see me, and I hope it actually looks okay. And I wanted to come to you all um, about the subject. It was I don't think that was very clickbaity, but how um, Octavia Butler saved my life and how she changed my life. So I'm just going to briefly give me 1 second so I can kind of see what you guys can see because I can't really see myself. So let me see if I can see if you can see me. Let's see if you can see me. Okay, it doesn't look like you guys can see me very well. So let me try and move over. Okay, I think it's a little better if I don't have all this glorious sun directly on my face. We're gonna watch the sunset together, and I think you guys can see me a little better. Maybe, okay. There we go. I think that's a little better. You don't have to see my whole face. It's fine. Um, So I just wanted to come to you all in the gloriousness of the sun today. I thought it was beautiful. And so I wanted to just talk to you briefly about the subject, how Octavia Butler changed my life. And I actually was going to put how the works of Octavia Butler saved my life. And so I'm actually going to really talk about that. So for those of you who are new to my channel, uh, my name is Luna. Thank you all for my new subscribers. Welcome to you. Welcome to the ones who've been with me since I first had my little rinky dink video, which, it ain't changed much. So I just bring the books over. And so I just wanted to come with a new subject that is actually pretty dear to my heart over the last year of my journey in healing. And so the subject is about Octavia Butler. So for most of you anyone who's on here who knows me personally knows that I am a big um, reader. Like I've just always been reading. Actually, from day one, since I could read a book, it has saved my life. It has been there through my times of pain and has helped me see things from different perspectives. Books have been my friends when I didn't have any, when I was going through a lot. They comforted me and they allowed me to see that I wasn't the only one going through things that were hard, and that it gave me hope because these people were able to um, overcome at least something in order to write about their story. I think the only thing that I read that really didn't do that was a book that I was obsessed with as a child, which was The Diary of Anne Frank. The sad part is that Anne Frank actually died. So that was probably hard to accept when I was a child, but it was one of my favorite books. Yet again, the written word has been a saving grace in my life over the last year. So last year around this time, maybe the summer of last year, I think I saw a post on, or like a video or something, about, I think I saw like a video about Afrofuturism and Octavia Butler and all of that. I think I just saw something that kind of just was like, if you don't know who Octavia Butler is, you need to know, type of thing. And let me just make sure y'all can. Sorry. Okay. So yeah. So I saw a post that was like, if you don't know who Octavia Butler is, you need to know type of thing, and someone who was going on a literary journey herself. And I don't remember who it was. I'm sorry, but she was talking about how, she was going to be reading Octavia Butler, and she was talking about the subject of Afrofuturism and things like that. And so I was like, I really want to know about this, because the one thing that most of us have had to learn the hard way is that uh, that in the U.S., but probably not just the U.S., probably it's probably a worldwide thing. I'm pretty sure that they don't actually tend to, in large part, you can have a great education. But if you want knowledge that is outside of the realm of like what everyday, things that everyone needs to know, things outside of Shakespeare, outside of this, outside of that, you aren't going to get it in a public school or even a private school education. You're not going to get it in a formal educational setting at all. And so I've had a very, y'all still okay, I think that's a little better. We're gonna see the sun set, so it's fine. I had a very great education. I went to great schools. I went to, um, a magnet school. I was in a magnet program in high school. I went to a prestigious women's college, and I went to a prestigious um, semi Ivy League Division 1 school, for a grad school. And so I had a great education. However, what I learned by the time I got into college, what I learned was that if okay, thank you. Hey, Pat, thanks, sis. By the time I got into college, what I learned was that if I wanted to learn something outside of what they were willing to teach me, I had to fight for it. I had to go for it. I had to go and find it my own way. I had to find, subjects and go into learn, things that people weren't gonna just give to you. It's this mentality of, when we seek truth and knowledge, you have to seek it. That's not just something that is like an inalienable right given to every single person. When it comes to knowledge, as a mystic myself, as a mystic spiritualist myself, you have to seek knowledge. You have to seek wisdom. And then once you do that, like the Bible says, all things will be added on to you. You have to seek it. It's not going to just come to you. It's not going to fall into your lap. And for those of us who do, for those of us uh who have had the privilege of being taught this and it passed down because their parents did the work, that is amazing, and I hope to do that to my children. So they don't have to, look so hard, but there are going to be things about in their lives. And as parents, I think that people learn in parenting is that you can't control your child's life. There's a journey that they must take that's a part of their purpose to awaken their destiny. So you can't really control that either, so that's my spiel on that. Okay, so to get back to the subject at hand, how did Octavia Butler change my life, and really how did she save my life? From September-ish of 2018 to now. Now that it's September, it's been an entire year, and I have only, as far as my leisure reading, I've read a lot of books over the last year that are for strengthening my work. But for leisure reading, I've only read Octavia Butler books. And let me tell you how that has been the most beautiful experience that I could ever experience. So the first book that I read from Octavia Butler, if you can see, is, and maybe you can see, let me know, Pat, if you can see it. Yeah, The Parable of the Sower. So I read The Parable of the Sower. I think I got it last year. And what I wrote to myself, what I like to do in my books, since for a long time, but especially since 2016, since I don't know why I've been doing this, but I just wanted to like mark my journey, I think, a part of me. So I wrote here, from a seed, all grows. Plant. Plant wisely. From a seed, all grows. Plant wisely. Wow. That was See, this is why I write in my book, so that I can leave myself these little nuggets of like how I was feeling, what was the purpose of me getting this book or whatever I'm doing. Like I said, from a seed all grows, plant wisely. I'm just gonna take that in. Thank you, myself of last year, of 2018, because time is not linear and time doesn't exist. So myself then knew that's what I was gonna need in this moment, and I'm grateful. So the first, first book I read was Parable of the Sower, and then I was so engulfed in Parable of the Sower. But right before it ended, I know, right? I know. Right before it ended, I bought Parable of the Talents right before I finished Parable of the Sword, because I was like, oh my god, I gotta see how this ends. I can't be left without it. So I bought that right after. And then after I read Parable of the Talents, I bought Kindred. And so so I bought Kindred. As I finished Kindred, I went to the bookstore, and I got this baby. This is my baby, Seed to Harvest. And Seed to Harvest did me a favor by having four novels by Octavia Butler in them. And so I fortunately got to just read that for the last couple of months. So it took me, I think I bought that at the beginning of the summer, and it took me maybe like 2 weeks to read, a week or two to read Kindred, because it was so good. And then I bought Seed to Harvest, and so it took me the last couple of months to read it, which that's between like working. That's like my leisure thing, is what I do for my like self-care, my alone time, and things like that. So I didn't leave myself a message there. Leave myself a message in any. Okay, so I didn't leave myself a message in any of those, but I did leave it there. So that's what we got. From a seed all grows, plant wisely. I think that's a really great subject to talk about. So who is Octavia Butler, and how did she change my life? Octavia Butler is and was an Afro-American author who created the genre of Afrofuturism. And so when you look up Octavia Butler, what they say is that she was a sci-fi writer. That's what they call her. She does not consider herself a sci-fi writer. She considers herself a writer. And so, but we do acknowledge that Octavia Butler is the mother of Afrofuturism, aka Afro-centered science fiction. So she created something that, and I was thinking the other day, what I was actually going to talk about was, if not for Octavia Butler, we'd have no Missy Elliott. I was thinking about that because of all these awards Missy is getting, and I was like, I could argue this. I could argue, but that I may do that another time, but that's not what I'm talking about now. So Parable of the Sower is about a young woman who lives in this dystopian, almost post-apocalyptic, semi-apocalyptic, not quite apocalyptic, but close to it. It's not the whole like apocalypse of like, oh, we sent a bomb out and the world is ending and people have to survive, but it's a dystopia. So if anybody knows what dystopia, so utopia is this like, oh, it's a whole new world, it's like everything's great and everything's happy and we just live in harmony, peace and harmony with each other. A dystopia is the opposite of that. So a dystopia is, oh, well, shit hit the fan and it's not all, butterflies and unicorn sugar plum fairies, you know what I'm saying? So that's what a dystopia is. And so that's the world that she created. And I think we can almost argue that that's the world that she created. She created a world of dystopia that intermingles race and supernatural abilities and mysticism and metaphysics in a way that is seamless. And this is just something she created off the top of, like, out of her imagination. And so when asked what made her create these things, she said that when she would read science fiction or books or whatever when she was a child, she said she realized that she could create something better. And so that's why she became a writer, because she was like, she said she was bored by the subjects that and they lacked creativity and imagination. And so that's why she wrote, because she felt like she could create something better, which is, why we should create in the world anyway. And so in Parable of the Sower, it's just, you're on this journey with this sister who has a supernatural empathy. Supernatural empathy is the way I will call it. So she's extremely empathetic. She's an empath, so she feels the pain of others, but she literally feels the pain of others, and it can debilitate her, and so she can. But she lives in a post-apocalyptic. Well, I don't know how to. I'm gonna call it post-apocalyptic. I don't know how else to describe it, but she lives in a world that is chaotic, and that it's like kill or be killed type of environment. And so she has, if she experiences it, if she sees it in her face, if she does it to someone, she will physically feel their pain until the person is dead or out of her sight, or whatever the case may be, right? So we're on this journey with her. We meet her family. We meet her friends. We experience her pain, and what she's doing with the her name is Lauren. Yeah, Lauren Olamina. Lauren Olamina. And she is she she's imparted, basically she experiences these downloads as a young child of the need for a new faith, a new belief system. And they believe that God is change. So she writes the parables about God is change. Everything you touch, you change. Everything you change changes you. So that's a quote. And it, when you look at it, you're like, oh my God, this is true. This is true. And she created a religion called Earthseed. And Earthseed is supposed to survive in space once the earth kind of ruin itself, and so she is called as a messenger to create this religion, and this movement, and this belief system that is going to sustain itself in space, and not on earth, and so and okay, also a big thing about it is that while Octavia Butler is a black American writer, she does not talk about race. She mentions the colors of people. She doesn't say a black woman and a white man. While you pretty much know by how she describes people that there's a lot of interracial mingling. There's a lot, all of her characters, all of her main characters are black women, but she doesn't feel the need to emphasize that. She doesn't say a strong black female role, or a strong black queer female, whatever it is, right? She doesn't do it. She just beautifully and clever, in such a clever way, infuses it as just what it is through all of her writing. And so race is something that is present in her work, but it's not this, like, it doesn't define her work. And I think that is something that we can take away from the works of Octavia Butler, because it's like, yeah, we get it. Like, and Octavia Butler was from what I've seen of her, she seemed like she was tall. She had very strong features, natural hair, brown skin. Some people may not have considered her beautiful. She had very strong features. So I would say like more masculine presenting features than feminine. But it was something like, to me, when I look at her, I just find something so beautiful about her. It's subtle. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And because of the subtleties, it's just so beautifully portrayed. And I think that it's in a way that anyone can identify with it. However, what you really, as any reader can identify, but you have to realize that you're identifying with a black character, and so I think that if you weren't black and you read this, you would still resonate with it, but the racial, but I think it, because of you resonating with it, it takes the race off the table and creates this sense of oneness, that we are all human beings. We are all human beings having a human experience. And while we've all embodied a certain race or ethnicity or nationality, none of it really matters in the scope of things, because we all feel, we all love, we all want, we all want someone to care about. We're all sexual creatures. So that's something that she really weaves in very beautifully. I will say that sexuality and sex is something that's very it's also another thing. So while race is so subtle, sex and sexuality and sex and sexual orientation also, and it's so interesting also, like this, you can tell that she's not a very religious person, but that she grew up around religion. And so she doesn't do this thing of like totally uh dissing Christianity or anything like that, but so race, like religion is mentioned, but it's also like very humanist. I would say that her work is very humanist. It's about the human condition on the earth. And so I would argue that she's a humanist, while Earthseed is something that anyone can embody. And I believe that Earthseed holds these truths that are inevitable. Change is inevitable. Therefore, we cannot, you have to agree that God is change, in a way. Once you read it, you're like, yeah, God is change, because if we don't accept that life changes every single day, if we can't accept that shit happens that's out of our control, and if we can say, if we can accept that, you know what, if I believe that there's a creator or a source that is in relationship with me and my experience, then this source must be all about change. Because if I don't change, if we don't change, you die. If you don't change, you die. And the moment that you touch someone, the moment that you touch something, it is no longer the same as it was before you touched it. And that's what she talks about. Whatever you touch, you change. Whatever you change, changes you. Neither you, the toucher, or the thing that you touched is ever the same once your energy has mingled and has shared space with each other. So that's what I'm going to say about that. Parable of the Talents is a continuation of Parable of the Sower, but from the perspective of her daughter, who doesn't get to meet her. And so I feel like Parable of the Talents was very painful. um it was painful, and I there's no way I can explain to you how painful it was. I would say that you should read it for yourself. But it was painful, but it was like I couldn't even put it down. It was painful and beautiful at the same time. And so it gave you the sense, as someone who believes in something. So why, okay, I'm gonna start imparting why and how it changed, these things changed my life. So I I'm a believer. I'm a faith driven person, and I believe in love, and I believe in something, and if you don't believe in something, you'll fall for anything, as they say, right? And so I don't necessarily hold my beliefs to be the end all be all of existence, but I believe enough to have faith. It's like sometimes you don't have faith about something, but I believe in something. I believe in my purpose. That's what I'll say. I believe in my purpose enough to have faith to keep working through to it, even when things get hard. And the work of Octavia Butler it embodies that. It really does. Everything that she writes, it's like it's so many points in time that you're like, well, why don't they just give up? Why keep going? You want to give up. You want to give up for them, because you're like, what's gonna be the purpose of this all? And sometimes there is none. Sometimes people die. Sometimes, something really terrible happens. But to live a life without having faith in it all, whatever the all might be, having faith in the all, it's like, then why else are we here? And I feel like that's what the work of Octavia Butler has imparted in me. And it has been a beautiful journey, and a lot of what she's done has truly been a large part of my healing process. And I feel like not enough people have talked about her. I know I didn't grow up hearing about her, and I've like over the last year, like all my sister friends and people who know me, I'm like, you should read this book, and I'm telling people about the book, and I'm like, oh my God, have you read this? Like, and because I have read plenty of books, and I've never read an Octavia Butler book until this last year, and now I've read like plenty of them. So, so yeah, like it just really imparted this sense of strengthening my faith in the process. I don't know what the process. I don't know the end. I don't know the end of my story, and I honestly don't ever want it to end. I really don't want to know that there's an end, because I'm really enjoying the process. I'm really enjoying getting up every day, praying, giving thanks. I used to plan everything, and the one thing I never planned was like shit happening. You know what I'm saying? Like, just being real. Like, I didn't plan for my life to just like shake in a way that almost broke me as a person and almost made me feel like I wanted to just give up. And I'm not gonna get emotional because I feel like it's coming on, but I did. And for people who know me, like, I don't talk about that much, because it is like, I almost feel like, well, once I get through something, I'm like, well, I'm through it now. There's no reason to talk about it. But one thing that I'm realizing is that our stories are there for a reason. And if we don't share, I'm a very private person, but I'm learning that through sharing a story is how we heal ourselves and how we heal each other. And so for me, it has really been a process of faith, truly. And what is that faith in? The purpose of it all. And I still don't even know what that is. But I feel like it is something that's the most worth it thing to seeking. And that's what I know about it. That's the only thing I know about it. And how it develops, I'm open to it. How it weaves itself into being, what I do along the way, and who I meet, who meets me. That interaction changes my life, and I'm never the same, and nor is the person who I meet. And so that's something I've had to like really come to peace with, because I've been dealing with this sense of loss and not sure how to manage it, and so I don't talk about it. And so and that's the type of person I am. I'm like, well, I just won't talk about it. I won't talk about it. I'll act like it doesn't exist, but it does. And so I've been, with this Virgo season, it's been having me bring these things up inside so that I can release them and truly release them. Because what I've learned is like not talking about it, having it embedded in the crevices of my heart is like almost like trying to take me out, in a way. Like, it really was like, oh my God, like if I don't get this up out of me, I might die. That's the feeling that I've been having. And I have not told anyone that. Now I've shared it and Pat's on. So thank you, sis. I really, that's how I've been feeling. And I've just been kind of trying to process it myself without telling others and without like making a big deal about it. I've been trying to write it out. I've been trying to get it out some way, read it out, whatever. And the one thing that I know now is like every experience that we have. This is something I just read in Eckhart Tolle, his book. I'm reading right now. What's it called? I don't know, but I'm going to briefly say. And he just said, you would not have had the experience unless it was most helpful to awakening your consciousness, something like that. I just wrote it down. Yeah, yeah. Like, I know I act like I don't know why I do that. Like, it's just something that I've always done. I've always act like some things don't really bother me, and they bother me a lot, and so it's easier for me to hold them in. But that's my Scorpio sun. My Scorpio sun says keep it a secret. My Libra moon says just compartmentalize it, and put it to the side. That's not what the biggest issue is right now. Deal with this at hand, and so my journey at hand is like getting myself together, so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna focus on that. My journey at hand was not like getting myself together and telling everybody how I'm feeling about everything every 5 seconds. I'm just not one of those people. But I've learned that there has to be, like, when I listen to those people, I'm like, there has to be something freeing about that. And I actually spent most of my life and I'm trying to get out of that feeling like nobody cares. So why tell people what you're going through? And that is just because I am a survivor of childhood abuse. And so as a child being abused, I really felt like nobody cared. And so it's something that kind of like had built in me to feel like, why tell people how you feel, even if it's your friends. Why tell people how you feel? Because they got their own stuff to worry about, like those type of feelings. And so yeah, but I say all this to say, by reading Octavia Butler, by going on these journeys with these characters, women, men, whomever, by losing people with them, by loving people with them, it really has given me this like internal feeling that everything's going to be okay. And like, and I say that, and yet like some of my favorite characters died, and it was so hard, but God has changed. Like, if you leave with anything, if Octavia Butler wanted us to know anything, is that God has changed, and that when we embrace our purpose, shit changes. And you have to, and when things change, you have to embrace it along the journey. It's a part of it. It's a part of living. It's a part of life, and it's okay that things change. And it's so funny because I actually have a tattoo. This one is really small writing, so people always be like, what does that say? But it says, if not for change, there'd be no butterflies. That is like, and it's so I've embodied that my entire life. I realized that shit gotta change. I can't keep doing it. I realize I'm a changer. I'm a changeling. I'm one of those people, And so if that's the one thing that I'm meant to do in this world, is to do go into the, if I could do the one thing that Octavia Butler did for me, and I'm sure others, if I could do that to one other person and whomever else I can reach in the world, I know that I lived my purpose. Helping them along that journey, being a part of that change in their lives, being a part of the change in the world, and truly living that out each day. I think that's a worthy cause. So I'm not going to get too much into that. I do want to talk about, I'm not going to go further. It's been like 30 minutes. So, but I do want to talk about Seed to Harvest. So Seed to Harvest is a compilation of 4. It contains the 4 of the novels that are in the grouping, so the sequels of them. So it's Wild Seed, Mind of My Mind, Clay's Art, and Patternmaster. When I tell you, this book is like reading magic, and it's so beautifully just written. So Wild Seed, I believe that a lot of Octavia Butler's work is going to start being put into film and shows and things. So I'm really excited about that, because I honestly, when you read it, you're like, oh my God, time had to wait. Like, time had to catch up to her in order to create what she created in these books. So I'm grateful that they waited until 20 whatever to start doing this work. And I believe that it's going to start being done by Ava DuVernay is going to be doing Kindred, I think, and then Wild Seed is going to be done by two African filmmakers, African women filmmakers. I don't know their name. And you know who else I would love for to do one would be what is his name? The creator of Moonlight and David Makes Man. Oh my gosh, that's gonna be another video. David Makes Man. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so Seed to Harvest is it's following a lineage of supernatural beings, and they come from Africa. So the supernatural beings come from Africa, and they are bred throughout time, throughout thousands of years, to have the strongest supernatural beings, and it actually the strength of their power comes from them connecting to each other. That says a lot right there. And so wild seed means that you weren't a controlled subject. Wild seed means that you weren't controlled, you weren't purposefully created by a specific person trying to control you being magical, but you came out magical anyway. And so Wild Seed, man, Wild Seed was like so beautiful. And the one who is the Wild Seed, she is the most powerful of creation. She's a healer. She's basically, they said, a demigod. So she's basically a demigod, the wildest seed of them all. Something that was created in seemingly happenstance. Like it wasn't like, oh yeah, we're going to intentionally create this being, but oh yeah, you just happen to be created, and yet you're the most powerful being of them all. It's beautiful work. And so Wild Seed, and the whole entire group of them, the whole Seed to Harvest, just like really spoke to me. It spoke to my heart. It spoke to my experience. It spoke to my journey over the last couple of years. And so, yeah, I don't know how else I can explain how Octavia Butler changed my life, but I will say that if you just need something to believe in, that is going to awaken who you are inside, I think that Octavia Butler is the perfect author to do so. So I think I'm gonna go ahead and end this. Pat, did you have anything to say? I'm open to like questions or anything before I close this. No, ma'am. Okay. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. I know it was like random. I just felt like doing, I've been thinking about these books and talking about them for a while, and I think I don't want to go into depth with them. I just want to talk about how they influenced me. I think that everyone should read them. And I'm not saddened by her passing. Okay. I'm not saddened by her passing. I'm grateful for it because I believe that when people pass on, their inner if they've lived their purpose, this is my belief. If people lived their purpose and they pass on, then their energy is then dispersed into the rest of us, and then we're kind of like enlightened by their energy. If people have passed on and they didn't live their purpose and they still have stuff to learn, then I believe that they come back and to finish it out. Or it doesn't have to be on Earth. It could be elsewhere. It doesn't have to be human. It could be other. And that's my belief. So I truly believe that Octavia Butler fully lived out her purpose. And I'm just grateful that she did. So I want to send y'all peace, love, and bliss. I want to send you life, vitality, and health. And I want to give thanks and say namaste, unubuntu. Peace.